Hello and welcome to the From the Be-All End podcast, and this is a special reaction episode, a mini-pod, because we quite simply couldn't wait 24 hours to talk about Burnley's pretty remarkable 5-0 win against Plymouth Argyle at Home Park. This is going to be a short podcast. The reaction will be back tomorrow with the regular podcast, which will reach you on Friday, of course. Greavesy, we've been saying one day we'll give somebody a real tubbing. This was that day, yeah?
Yeah, and I think we will probably all came into this game thinking it might be the day when, somebody's on the end of a bit of a smashing. But, I mean, to be 5-0 up inside the first half, you just kind of went, wow. I think, the last time I remember that, we were on the end of that from Man City in that god-awful day under Brian Laws when, had we not been 5-0 down, I think the game probably would have been called off due to the weather. But, that man's Ian Fleming, I think, super goals, more about the build-up play and, as well as Fleming's finishes. But, my God, we threatened it a few times in patches. The only disappointment, perhaps, is we didn't double it in the second half. But, even at half-time, it could have been 7 or 8, given the fact that we perhaps should have had at least 2 penalties in that first half for a couple of handballs. But, remarkable, really. You travel all that way, you want a performance, and I'm really chuffed for the 1,000+ clarets. Just think about that. 1,000+ clarets making a 600-mile round trip on a Wednesday in January when nobody's got any money. It's the worst week of the year for credit card bills and all that shite. But by God, they've been rewarded with a 5-0 win and a From the Be-All End reaction special for the journey home.
Yeah, those fans on their way back, I'm sure they'll be having a few beers on the coach and celebrating that one. He said, I do feel a bit sorry for the home fans, though, who keep having to watch all these 0-0 draws, and those who go on the road are getting their reward with that performance at Sheffield United. And then this one, Woody it felt like that spell towards the end of the second half, like we were going to score 10, didn't it?
Yeah, I was trying to nod off for most of it, but we kept banging stuff in. Where did that come from? That really will upset some of the naysayers, won't it? All those who say we can't create, we can't score, we can't do whatever. It was extremely easy. Although, let's give Plymouth the credit, they did make it very easy for us. But you can only beat what's in front of you, can't you? And there's nothing better if you're thinking, right, well, we've got to put a performance in against Leeds, to put that kind of a performance in against Plymouth, take it easy second half, and bring on Monday.
Yeah, Chris, there were some pretty outstanding attacking individual performances in that game, weren't there? Fleming in particular, but not only Fleming.
No, there's a lad. I keep saying there's a player in there about Jayden Anthony. I thought he was as good as anything in a Burnley shirt on Friday night without that final product as such. But he had that tonight, and you could see the sort of he's dipping into his bag of tricks, little drag backs and flicks, and his control is exceptional. You see, when we're spraying these crossfield balls into him, the one he took first touch Friday night and ended up getting, shunted into next week and not getting a free kick for that. And but no, every time the ball's played to him, his touch is absolutely spot on. See, I think his crossing can improve, but. And he got a bit of luck with the little crossing for Fleming's second, but over the piece, I thought he was excellent. He's beating players. He knows, he's capable of holding on to possession at the right time, and you could see he's got a bit of swagger about him tonight, and long may that continue. But yeah, Fleming's again, he's sort of growing into that. We've had from that outstanding start at Leeds, where we thought, well, he can be like a Barnes type figure here, to other periods where he's been. Sort of non-existent in games and not using his physicality. And when he pieces it together, he's back to goal, he's barging into centre halves, his hold-up play was bang on. And he's showing that sort of desire to get in front of defenders from the cross ball and things like that. It's a sensational delivery from Brownhill. He's got time and space, but to have the foresight to think to do that and to pull it off, and Fleming's finish, matches that, and a lot of good about that performance. And I was just saying to my eldest, he couldn't believe it was 5-0 at half time, and I just said to him, I would imagine it'll be It'll be 5-0 at full-time whistle. Don't get
go
too
like that,
excited. It's just so strange how often that happens. But it reminded me of that, perhaps the other way around, because the goals came in the second half at Milton Keynes in the 2016 Championship season. But you can only beat, let us see what who said what's in front of you. You know, they were as bad a side as I've seen at this level since MK Dons. And but you know, put them to one side, and I say we'll wait and see what happens with Whittaker maybe before Monday night.
Yeah, we'll maybe get into that one in the full pod. Whittaker not playing, and of course linked with Burnley. But Greavesy, the need for a striker, you know, leaving aside Whittaker's whether he's the right man or not, but the need for a striker, it feels a little bit unnecessary after watching that performance, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think, you know, performances like that can sometimes paper over the cracks. I'm not saying there's many cracks in the armour, but, you know, I think we'd still feel a bit more comfortable being able to bring on kind of a big, younger number 9, if you will. I know Jay's come on today, and again, his hold-up play looked pretty good in the time he was on the pitch, you know, dropping deep, a couple of nice chest-offs and things like that. So I think, I think a number 9, a powerful number 9 who can come off the bench and perhaps affect it in a better way than Barnes or Rodriguez would, he's still up there. Like I said, we'll probably discuss Whittaker tomorrow, because we might find out after we've recorded this from the Argyle manager the reason why. Sky kept alluding to the fact that nobody knows why he's not in the squad, and they kept showing him in the stands. It was, you know, I remember saying to Kim, my wife, on Sunday when we were watching Ipswich City, let's put a timer on to see when we see Ed Sheeran, and you just knew as soon as he wasn't in the side, you were in that stopwatch for where's the first glimpse of Whittaker. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, have we now kind of pushed Fleming from a number 10 to a false 9? Does he become a real 9 at some point if he still scores goals? But I think you're right. Again, you know, the commentators on Sky were saying, you know, he's adapting to being that focal point. You know, he's different to what he played at Millwall, but he's got that kind of, you know, fox in the box that we've been missing. You know, I don't think Foster's ever one of those kind of players. I think he's more running into the channels. And I thought Foster had a good game tonight. You know, a couple of really decent crosses from the big man. But yeah, I mean, you know, we've got players to come back into this side. None of us have mentioned Josh Laurent yet. I mean, 2 goals for him. His first and second goals. He just ran that midfield, really. You know, he almost took on the Brownhill role of getting beyond that kind of third man, if you will.
Yeah.
Which was superb. And look, you know, we've made a lot of the fact that we don't see many goals at home, and, you know, I'm not expecting a rout against Leeds United or even, you know, that amount of goals shared between both sides. But it's, you know, I think, again, it's that Woody's always mentioned that, you know, we keep improving, we keep getting better. Yeah, Plymouth was shite, you know, as Chris said, one of the worst sides at this level that we've probably seen. But they are the kind of teams that if we hadn't got a goal and we'd have been kind of 0-0 at half-time, that second half performance from them, they'd have been buoyed. It's one of them games that we could have struggled to break them down. But
we only beat them 1-0 at home, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with a latish goal. But just everything. I mean, the foresight of Roberts to set up that first Laurent goal, where the little, you know, a little cheeky cut back and it's in the right place. Foster for the second Laurent goal, getting that ball back across, you know, literally under the crossbar for Laurent to head in and to nudge in. But just lots of things clicked tonight. And sometimes I think teams perhaps need an opponent like that to really kind of get going. You know, Sunderland, completely different opposition. Thought we played well in parts there, but I think sometimes you need to come up against a shit side to kind of go, right, this is how it works. You know, we do it all week in training. Let's do it for real. And then it becomes that muscle memory of getting them balls out wide, Anthony getting that confidence, that backing into defenders that Fleming does, that then allows a Laurent or a Brownhill to get up with play nice and quickly, tucking in Robert. All these things that we've seen in pockets in that 45 minutes, that first 45 minutes were just, everything came off. And I think sometimes you just need that.
Yeah, absolutely. Woody, I mean, final thought from you, really. It's we've had a lot of games we've won, where we've narrowly won, where we've dominated possession, but it's never been that sort of thrilling feeling. do you leave this game now with a lot more confidence about our ability to get in that top two again and really go through it all the way this season?
Well, this strange little roller coaster where 1 week we're not making the top four, the next week we're winning it just based on whatever performance. We know we've got this in us, and yes, it's Plymouth, but we showed tonight a few different ways of breaking them down, which there's a little bit of a plan going on. It's a progression. So I think that's as good a performance as we've put together that first half, especially dominating attacking third all year, and then some. And from anybody else in the division as well. If you were watching that, you'd be wondering what's everybody's talking about with regards to us as a non-attacking threat. We looked formidable at times, and come on, Leeds.
Yeah, bring on Leeds. That's a big one. We're going to talk about that more in Friday's pod, and we'll go into a little bit more detail about tonight's game and talk about a few other things that have been going on. John Joe Shelby, of course, coming into the club. We'll talk about all of that in the full podcast. Don't forget on your Apple and your Spotify and everywhere else that you listen to us to please follow, subscribe, and give us a rating. It really does help us. And until then, up the Clarets.
How many times do I have to tell you? Stop moaning!